Day 323 of doing a LeetCode problem every day until I get a job. All right, y'all, we're back again another day, another LeetCode problem where we're doing daily LeetCode problems. And today we have question number 2529, maximum count of positive integer and negative integer. The difficulty level is easy, so you already know we're going to keep the solution as simple and easy to understand as well. But before we get started, y'all, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you need any new Apple AirPods, go ahead and check out that link in the description. Now, I picked this problem today, y'all, because it's similar to the problem we did yesterday. So if you want some extra practice after this problem, check out yesterday's problem, which was day 322. The solutions are sort of similar, the problem's sort of similar, and I think it's good that we do similar problems in a row, which to strengthen what we learned yesterday. So with that being said, let's see what the question says. Question says, given an array num sorted in non-decreasing order, return the maximum between the number of positive integers and the number of negative integers. In other words, if the number of positive integers in nums is pos and the number of negative integers is neg, then return the maximum of pos and neg. Note that 0 is neither positive or negative. All right, y'all, that sounds simple enough, but let's make sure we know exactly what it is that they want us to do by taking a look at these examples. So in example 1, we have the input nums equals an array of integers -2, -1, -1, 1, 2, and 3. The output is 3. Explanation says there are 3 positive integers and 3 negative integers. The maximum count among them is 3. So as you can see, in this case, there's 3 negatives and there's 3 positives, so the output is 3, which can kind of be misleading. So let's go ahead and take a look at example 2, where it will be a different amount of positives and negatives, right? So in example 2, we have the input nums equals an array of integers -3, -2, -1, 0, 0, 1, and 2. This time the output is still 3. Explanation says there are 2 positive integers and 3 negative integers. The maximum count among them is 3. So once again, we have 3 negative integers and we have 2 positive integers. Since we have more since we have more negative integers than we do positive integers, we are going to return the number of negative integers because we're going to return the number, whichever has more integers, right? Negative or positive. So if there are more positive numbers, then we'll return the positive number count. If there's more negative numbers, we're returning the negative number count. And in this case, there's more negative numbers, so the output is 3. Remember, 0 is neither negative or positive. It says right here, so keep that in mind when we're doing our calculations as well. So let's go and take a look at example 3, where the input nums is an array of integers 5, 20, 66, and 1,314. This time the output is 4. Explanation says there are 4 positive integers and 0 negative integers. The maximum count among them is 4. So in this case, there's 0 negative integers, right? And there's 4 positive integers. 4 is greater than 0, so we're going to return 4. That's how we got this output. So y'all, I hope that makes sense to y'all. It's quite simple. We're just returning whichever one has more, the negatives or the positives, and whichever has more, that's the count we are returning. So with that being said, y'all, let's get into the fun part, the actual solution, y'all. And once again, this solution is not that difficult at all. So let's get into it. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a variable to keep track of how many positive numbers there are. So in order to do that, we could just declare a variable. We could call it pos count, and that is going to keep track of all the positive integers. It's going to keep count of all the positive integers, and we can set that to 0 to start. Then we need to declare another variable to keep track of how many negative integers there are. So we could declare a variable, call it neg count, and once again, we could set this to equal to 0 as well, and this is going to keep track of how many negative integers we come across. So in order to iterate through this, now we need to iterate through the array, so we could just use a for loop for that. So we could say for num in nums, boom, open up the brackets. Now we can say if num is greater than 0, that means num is a positive integer, right? So we could just say open up the brackets, and we could say pos count. We could just increment pos count by saying pos count plus equals 1, just like that. Then we come right here, we could say else if num is less than 0. So if num is less than 0, that means it's a negative number. So that means if we come across, sorry y'all, gotta open up the brackets. So if we come across a number that is less than 0, that means it's negative. So we can increment neg count. So we could just say neg count plus equals 1, just like that. Now we have the count of each of the negative numbers and positive numbers, but we still need to return which has a larger count, right? So we're not done yet. In order to do that, we could just come outside of this for loop, and all we have to do is say return max, open up the parentheses, pos count, comma neg count. And what this is going to do is it's going to return whichever one is bigger, whichever one has the maximum value, pos count or neg count. So that should be all she wrote, y'all. Let's give it a run, make sure it runs properly, but it's really that simple. And look at that, y'all. It's accepted. So let's go ahead and submit it, see what that time complexity is looking like. Ooh, y'all, 0 milliseconds beats 100% of users with Swift, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. Those are the numbers I like to see. So once again, y'all, this is a similar problem to the problem we did yesterday on day 322. So if you want more practice with this, I would suggest you check out yesterday's video as well, because it's really good at helping us to further cement our foundation and really get a better understanding of what's going on here and how to answer similar problems to this. And so we're going to do a few easy problems just to build our foundation and strengthen our foundation, so that when we move on down our LeetCode journey and we come across some more medium problems, we'll actually have a strong foundation to build off of, and we'll be confident in the skills that we've learned thus far. So with that being said, y'all, I hope y'all learned something today, and I hope to see y'all here tomorrow for another day, another LeetCode problem. See y'all then.